Hetherman. Go right into questions for Coach Corey Hetherman.
All right, Coach. Now that you've had a chance to kind of take a deep breath and watch the tape from last night, your general thoughts on the body of work?
You know, I thought our guys came out and we played fast early. I thought we communicated well early in the game. The biggest thing is just some of the techniques and some of the fundamentals. Really, as the game progressed and as the game went on, we just got to clean some of that stuff up. But, we were happy with the effort. We were happy with how hard the guys played. I thought we were physical. We got to the football, and just little details now that we got to clean up so we can close out the game.
Can you talk about the interception? I mean, what an amazing play. I mean, really, Damari Brown, the way he read that bubble screen and blew the whole thing up, and then Bain hustling to the point where he was out there to make the interception.
That's something you see from him every day in practice, and that's been one of the general things, starting in spring football, is getting 11 hats to the ball. It's our swarm every single play, and just talking to the guys about opportunities. Like, you never know when that ball's going to get tipped, that ball's going to get deflected, someone's going to get a punch out, and the ball's going to be on the ground. And if we run to the football, good things are going to happen to the defense, and that's just like the perfect example of it. He swarming to the ball, and you don't know what's going to happen. It's could be a catch, could be a missed tackle, could be a deflection, and he's right there to make the play. And it's a great play by him. Then get up the sideline and get as many yards as we can, and hopefully score on defense at some point. But the swarm by the guys all night, just getting a second hat to the ball carrier, getting a third guy there, getting the fumble recovery on the perimeter, and then getting the interception. That's how we practice every single day, and it showed up in the game. And now we got to continue to do that for 4 quarters.
Can you broadly just provide context on what happened on the long bus to the tight end, what the mix-up was there?
Yeah, one guy came out of coverage. It's just the call that we were in. It was one guy had 2 vertical, and I think he saw the linebacker coming through the zone, and he was leveraging the back, and just took his eyes off it, and we cut a guy free. It can't happen. We'll get that cleaned up.
Bain and Mesidor, we know how valuable they are when they are at full strength. Just what they were able to do those last 2 plays specifically, how big was that for them to be able to close out the way they did?
Yeah, I think they did, the way they played all game, the way they set edges, the way they knocked the line of scrimmage back, the way they canceled gaps, defeating the line of scrimmage and knocking the guys back off the ball. They played like that all night. I thought they did a really good job start to finish. And the biggest thing for us now is we gotta earn the right to rush the quarterback a little bit more. Last night, we saw a ton of screens, we saw a ton of perimeter quick game. Didn't see a lot of vertical passes until a little bit later in the game, and then they could pin their ears back a little bit more. But yeah, those guys, our ability to get to the quarterback up front, we're excited about what we can do. And now we just gotta get more opportunities where we're third off track, or in a situation where hopefully we can play from ahead and be able to rush the quarterback a little bit more.
They seem to put the ball in C.J. Carr's hand or depend on C.J. Carr a lot. Was that a surprise to you guys, or were you was that something you game planned for?
It was weird. First game of the year, not really having any film on him, going back, watching his high school tape and his high school highlights and game film from there. We weren't really sure what to expect. We game planned for multiple quarterbacks. We game planned for a wildcat offense. We had gone back through their coordinators past and seen kind of what he had done at Cincinnati and seen what he'd done at LSU, and we had different game plans for a lot of things where the kids last night probably at the end of the game like, why did we practice that? So some stuff showed up, some stuff didn't show up. We didn't really anticipate as much run game from the quarterback with him in there, but I thought he did a really good job. He extended plays, he kept things alive. That first touchdown, he scrambles out of the pocket and he keeps the play alive. We come out of coverage and he finds a guy in the back of the end zone. That second touchdown, we had him 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, in the tight red zone, and they run a quarterback lead, kind of caught us off guard a little bit, and he scores a touchdown. And then the last touchdown where he scrambles, we had a miscommunication in coverage, and we kind of game planned something for a pitcher, and it wasn't that same pitcher, and we were short in the box, and it's something where we got to get that cleaned up. It happened twice in the game, and we'll get that fixed this week. But I thought he did a really good job with his legs, extending plays, and especially in the second half, running the ball a little bit better, because that was our number one thing, was we wanted to stop the run as we went out and attacked them.
There were questions coming in up the middle and how you guys would hold up the middle. How did you feel at the line of scrimmage? I mean, you were tested with a couple great running backs. the constant quarterback draws. How did you feel that you held up at the point of attack?
I thought our guys did a really good job of knocking the line of scrimmage back. I thought we played, our hands and feet. I thought our guys did a good job. Now it's just like the little details of like their target and, some of those little details on some of the movements. The 3rd down and 2 they converted. I thought we had an opportunity to get off the field. We just got to clean up our details on that one. We hit them right at the line of scrimmage, and they get the 2 yards, they get the 1st down, and that goes down to be a touchdown drive. But I think like our rush lanes is something that we got to work on a little bit up the middle. But the run game, I thought we were pretty happy with the way the guys, knocked the line of scrimmage back. And the one thing that we've already got written down for tomorrow, first thing in practice is set the edge drill. I thought there were times we were working up the field, we were creating a little bit of seams, and we got a little loose there on the edges, and that big 30-yard run that gets out. We kind of have a flyby. We go up the field, it creases us between the nickel and the end, and then we get cracked and pinned on the perimeter. And those are little things that right away. That's what we're going to work to fix tomorrow in practice, and we'll get that stuff cleaned up this week in practice.
Game 1, tough opponent. After watching the film, tell us something positive you learned about your defense.
Our guys, they responded in different situations. The 4th quarter, I thought we played well, and we had a couple situations early in the game where they had a good look and maybe they didn't find it, or our guys swarmed, or someone made a really good play. Later when they came back, I thought our guys learned from the film and learned from the sideline adjustments and did a really good job responding to help us get off the field early in the game. Now, later in the game, we struggled a little bit there in the 4th quarter. We had the big play. We had a long drive we gave up, and to come out in a T4 after that field goal and really respond to put the game away at the end with that pass rush and our guys swarming to the ball. I thought that was huge for our guys to respond in that moment and not allow them to start to drive down the field and get either into field goal range or to score a touchdown there at the end. But I think our guys overcoming some adversity there in the game, and then just working together and getting back to the sideline after a touchdown or after a missed opportunity and not turning on one another and working together and hashing things out. I was proud of our guys working through that and learning to build and continue to grow, and I think that's what's going to help us as we continue to go through the season here.
Keontae Scott at nickel, just his performance, he was on the field a lot.
Yeah, he probably played 57, 58 plays last night. He did some things really well. I thought we added him at times in the blitz game. I thought there were some times in coverage he did a really good job. The set the edge thing, we got to work on that a little bit. The 3rd and 4, they're working, they're coming out of a pick route, and he did a good job working over the top on that. But he's a guy, he's played a lot of college football. He's a really smart football player, and that stuff shows up in week 1 against an opponent like that. And I'm really excited about as now he's a little bit more detailed and learning more about the defense. Now he's learning how to play a little bit faster, and I think that's what we'll see from week 1 to week 2 as he keeps building here.
We've been working for 3 years to see Mesidor and Bain meet at the quarterback, and it happened last night. Is that something you guys speak about or talked about?
Yeah, especially in the last drive, you saw them on the same side, you saw them on opposite sides. You saw, one time they were inside, one time they were outside. Our rush plan every week, we're going to have different things to attack different people, and then same thing, we're going to try to play to our strengths and get those guys in different situations. But that's one of those things is, if we stop the run and we get guys off track, those are guys we want to cut loose in the pass rush a little bit. And at the end of the game, we saw that, and worked out well for us there. And we got to continue to develop that plan and have the ability to let those guys go and have some success on 3rd down and late game situations.
You used Lightfoot a lot in those, some of those situations last night. How did he do?
He played really well. Yeah, he's, pass rush, some of his coverage ability, in space, different things that he can do. He's really like a linebacker, where he can do different things, dropping and rushing the quarterback. And then just his speed off the football, is usually causes problems for people. And that's, we have a lot of guys like that. You saw Malik in there, you saw Lightfoot in there. We'll put different guys in different situations. It could be a linebacker at different times, where we're going to put different guys in different pitchers and packages and try to get them up as mismatches for the offense.
Bryce Fitzgerald doesn't come in until the summer, was able to work his way to be able to get a few snaps out there on defense. What did he show you guys over the last month or so be able to get your guys' trust to be out there in some of those plays?
You know, one of the, you know, we talk about swarm, we talk about being physical. One of the other things we talk about every single day, every meeting starts with a ball tape, and he is always around the football. Like there's just some guys that, whatever it is, they always find the ball. They always create takeaways. They always make some big plays. And, you know, that's one thing that happened from day one that he got here in the summer. And during camp, you know, one of the last practices going to the game, he has 3 interceptions. And that's, you know, that's a guy that we want on the field when we feel like, you know, pass situations. And then, you know, in the scrimmages right away, it was, you know, how is he going to tackle? And, you know, he comes downhill and he tries to run through people. So, you know, he really stepped up in fall camp, and he's learned really well. You know, he was well coached in high school. You can tell the coaching staff there did a really good job of getting him ready and preparing him for college football. And, you know, that shows with his development and how he responded in camp coming in, you know, late in the summer. And then the other thing is, you know, with what we do on defense, you know, we do a lot of different things, but it's not a lot. It's like a little bit of techniques, a little bit of fundamentals, and we're allowed to move people around different spots. And, you know, we kind of did that last year with the safety that we had in Minnesota, and now we're doing it with him a little bit, where now you can get a guy on the field early and put him out there to be successful in different situations. And he's a guy, you know, we're excited about what he's going to do this year.
Your corner group, you rotated 4 guys, 25 plus snaps, and, you know, seemed like you left them on islands and trusted them to kind of handle their business. They also were attacked in the quick game as well. How'd they perform just overall as a group?
Yeah, I thought our guys were physical, you know, with the screen game, setting edges, taking shots, trying to run through, tackle. You know, one thing all night we talked about was being disciplined with our eyes. You know, they came out, I think it was like 4 screens in the first 2 series. So right away it's like, hey, we're going to get a screen and go. We're going to get some type of double move and a shot right now. And our guys, you know, responded really well with their eyes. I think they hit the 1 fade ball up the sideline. It was, you know, really good play by a really good receiver. Good throw, good catch. But we're going to constantly challenge people on the perimeter, and I thought our guys really stepped up. I thought they played physical. I thought they communicated well. And, you know, one thing is it's always hard to get the checks to those guys. And I thought those guys all night, you could see them communicating. They had their eyes back in, and they were really handling a lot of the calls well. But, you know, I was really happy with that room last night, how they played. And, you know, now there's little details that we got to clean up, you know, coming out of coverage and zone coverage a couple times, pushing the coverage with the quarterback, moving the pocket a couple times. And now those are the things we'll work on this week to get better for next week.
Staying with the cornerbacks, I think Zero makes a big catch over OJ
Yep.
On our sideline. What's your assessment of that play? What is your assessment of that play? What's your message to OJ?
You know, I thought he was there. The one we wanted to see is you'd love to see the safety come off a little bit faster. I thought he pulled up a little bit short, get the second hat there. But I thought he was in really good leverage. You know, I think he's just got to play up and finish through the hands now. You know, I thought if he goes chest to chest and finishes through the play, he's gonna have a shot. But at the end of the day, that's a really good wide receiver, and that's a really good throw. I mean, that was a big time play by them. And, you know, I thought they did some things where I thought they made some big plays. The quarterback scrambling a couple times, extending things. You know, those running backs ran hard. You know, we were trying to, you know, deliver as many blows as we could, and those guys, you know, kept coming downhill. But that was one of the plays in the game that stood out to me, that they stepped up and they made a big time play on us. And I thought OJ had really good coverage most of the night.
Anything else? Great. Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you guys.